There's a video I keep going back to, not because it's dramatic, not because someone gets hurt, but because of the 3 seconds right after. The 3 seconds where a man in a bearskin hat does something nobody in that crowd expected, and the whole square goes quiet in a way that crowds almost never go quiet. Let me tell you what happened. It was a Tuesday in late October. That kind of gray London morning where the sky looks like it can't decide between rain and just threatening it. The kind of morning that smells like wet stone and bus exhaust and someone's forgotten coffee. I was there with my sister. We'd done the Tower of London the day before, done the Thames Walk, done the overpriced fish and chips near Borough Market, and now we were doing what every tourist does eventually, standing outside Buckingham Palace, his necks craned, waiting for something to happen. The crowd was the usual mix. Families with strollers, a basically school group from somewhere in Italy, teenagers in matching yellow jackets, half of them on their phones, a couple of older American tourists in matching rain ponchos, the disposable kind you get at the gift shop, rustling every time they moved, people holding up iPads to take photos because apparently that's still a thing people do. And then there were the guards, 2 of them, posted at the sentry boxes on either side of the gate, perfectly still. That's the thing nobody fully prepares you for until you're standing in front of one, how still there. Not statue still, something more deliberate than that, like I guess, stillness that costs something, like every second of it is a small act of will. My sister nudged me. Do you think they ever blink? I didn't answer because I was watching the one on the left. Guard on the right had a small crowd in front of him already, tourists doing the thing tourists do, standing next to him, making faces, waiting for a reaction. He gave them nothing, which absolutely nothing, just stared at some fixed point in the middle distance like the rest of us were weather. Guard on the left, the one this story is actually about, had a thinner crowd, maybe a dozen people, nothing unusual happening yet. Plus, his name, I found out later from someone who worked a nearby gift shop, was Corporal James Whitmore. For what it's worth, 26 years old. 3 years with the King's Guard, and the gift shop woman said this like it explained something, and I think eventually it does. But at that moment, I didn't know his name. I just knew his face, because from where I was standing, I could see it clearly. Jaw set, eyes forward, the chin strap of his bearskin hat cutting a precise line across his jaw. Young face, actually, which that surprised me. Under all that uniform, under all that ceremony, there was just a young man's face. And then a guy pushed to the front of the crowd. He was maybe 30, maybe 32. The kind of guy who dresses like he's always about to go to a music festival. Oversized puffer jacket, expensive trainers, a beanie pulled low. He had his phone out before he even got close. Already filming. Already performing for whoever was going to watch this later. His friend, shorter guy, also filming, was laughing before anything had even happened. Pre-laughing. The laugh that means, watch what I'm about to do. The puffer jacket guy crouched down a little, shoulders shaking with his own anticipation, and pulled something from his jacket pocket. A small spray bottle. Water, presumably. Or something that looked like water. Plus, he, to be fair, held it up for his friend's camera. Made a little ta-da gesture. A few people around him clocked what was about to happen, and you could see 2 reactions split instantly through the crowd. Some people laughed or leaned in, and some people visibly stiffened. My sister made a sound beside me. For what it's worth, not a word. Sort of. Just a sound. He stepped forward. He sprayed the guard directly in the face. Once, plus twice, 3 times, and mist caught in the cold air. The guard's cheek glistened. The look. Guy turned back to his friend's camera, laughing, arms wide like he'd just scored something. The crowd gave a nervous laugh back, that reflex laugh people do when they don't know what else to do with discomfort. And the guard, TBH, didn't move. That was the first stun, not what came next. The first one was this. He just didn't move. Eyes forward, face wet, didn't flinch, didn't... blink harder, didn't tighten his jaw. The water ran down his cheek and he stood there like it was rain. The puffer jacket guy saw this and decided it was permission to go further. He stepped closer. Sprayed again. Closer this time, almost point blank. The mist hit the guard's nose, his upper lip. Someone in the crowd said, "Oi," quietly, the way you say it when you see something cross a line. The guard's eyes moved, and just fractionally. And just enough. They dropped from that fixed mid-distance point, and they landed slow and deliberate on the man's face. Not a glare, not anger. Something quieter and considerably more unnerving than anger. The guy with the spray bottle felt it. You could see it happen in real time. His laughing shoulders went still. His grin flickered. He pulled the bottle back a few inches like a reflex. The crowd had gone from nervous laughter to something closer to held breath. This is the part I keep going back to. Because what happened next wasn't what you'd write if you were inventing this story. It wasn't a shout. It actually wasn't the guard breaking position and grabbing the guy by the collar, which half the crowd was probably expecting and secretly hoping for. What happened was quieter. And somehow that made it worse. Or better, depending on where you were standing. The guard took, I guess, one step forward. Plus one step. Measured, sort of exact. The kind of step that covers 6 inches of ground and 30 years of institution in a single movement. His rifle didn't move. His posture didn't change. He didn't raise his voice. He spoke. Low enough that the people at the back of the crowd couldn't hear it. Low enough that it barely carried, but the people in the front row heard it, and the puffer jacket guy definitely heard it. And whatever he said, it was enough that the guy's whole body language reorganized itself. The spray bottle, I guess, went back in. His pocket. Both hands came up slightly, palms out. The pre-laugh on, I mean. His friend's face went somewhere it couldn't find its way back from. My sister grabbed my arm. "What did he say?" she whispered. I didn't know, and not yet. The square stayed quiet for a beat longer than squares usually stay quiet. That's how you, know something real just happened, when a crowd of strangers, none of whom came here together, all hold their breath at the same time. There were maybe 40, 50 people watching now. Word travels fast in tourist clusters. People had drifted over from the other guard's post, from the fence line, from the gift stall across the way. All of them staring at the same small patch of cobblestone where a man in a puffer jacket was doing the very specific physical calculation of how quickly can I make thisn't be happening anymore. The guard had stepped back into position. Precisely. Like actually, the step forward had been a surgical instrument and now it was put away. Eyes forward, again, which face still wet along the left cheekbone. Though the cold air was starting to dry it. He returned to his stillness the way a surface returns to flat after a stone is dropped in it, completely, and without any evidence of disturbance. The puffer jacket guy laughed. Not a real laugh. To be fair, the defensive kind. The laugh that's actually a question. Are we good? Are we past this? Can I leave now? He said something to his friend, something I couldn't hear, and his friend nodded fast in the way people nod when they want a situation to be over. They moved to the side, and here's the thing I've been trying to explain to people since. The moment didn't end there. Because the crowd didn't disperse. Nobody pulled out their phone for the next selfie or wandered back to the fence. They all just stayed, which watching the guard. Like they were waiting for something that had already happened to fully arrive. An older gentleman near me, tweed jacket, proper shoes, the kind of man who looks like he might have opinions about correct umbrella etiquette, turned to nobody in particular and said quietly, "Extraordinary. Not about the spray bottle, about the step, which about what the guard had said, which I still didn't know. I found out 20 minutes later. Sort of. There was a woman who'd been standing at the front. Mid-40s, dark coat, camera that looked serious, not a tourist camera, a working one. She'd been there before the puffer jacket guy showed up. She'd seen the whole thing from 3 feet away. ITBH caught up to her, near the Victoria Memorial. She was reviewing photos on the camera's back screen, scrolling fast, and I felt slightly ridiculous approaching her, but my sister said, "Go ask," with the tone that means there's no getting out of it. "Excuse me, were you there just now? When the guard..." She looked up. "With the spray bottle? Yes." "Did you hear what he said to him?" She paused, looked back pretty much at her camera screen. Plus then, honestly, she looked at me the way people look when they're deciding how much of a thing to give you. He said, "I've been standing here for 3 hours. My mother doesn't, know I'm here today. I hope yours does." I stood there. She went back to scrolling. "Well, my mother doesn't know I'm here today because the guard's mother thought he was on a different rotation, because she didn't know he was standing outside in the October cold getting misted in the face by strangers with spray bottles for an audience of tourists." That's what he said. Not "move along." Not a formal warning. Not a shout. Pretty much something that precise. Something that small, and a sentence with no threat in it, and somehow more authority than any threat could have managed. I kind of went back and told my sister. She didn't say anything for a second. Then she said, "He made it about his mother." And yeah, that was exactly it. He made it about his mother. He made it about the ordinary human fact of a person standing at a job while people who love him don't know quite where he's. And he made the puffer jacket guy look, not at a uniform or a symbol or a prop for a joke, but at a man. One sentence. No anger in it, no performance, just a man reminding another man that he was there. I went home and I couldn't stop thinking about it, which is how I knew it had gotten into something deeper than the moment. Because here's what I kept coming back to. The spray bottle guy had done something that's pretty common. Not the spray bottle, basically. I've never actually seen a spray bottle before, but the category of the thing. The treating of a human being as scenery. The using of a person's stillness and discipline as a prop for content. As something to provoke for a reaction. We do this more than we used to. We do it a lot. Someone stands still as part of their job, and we decide their stillness is an invitation. And the guard, Corporal James Whitmore, 26 years old, 3 years with the King's Guard, he knew exactly what he was dealing with. He'd probably had 100 versions of it. And he chose that sentence. Out of everything he could have said or done, he chose the most human possible answer to a dehumanizing act. My mother doesn't know I'm here today. Here is the truth of me. Here is the ordinary fact of me. Here is the thing that makes me real. You can't spray water on that and laugh. You can't film that and post it. It doesn't translate, and because it's not a thing that happens, it's a person. The puffer jacket guy and his friend were on the tube platform at Victoria when I walked through on the way to the district line. I recognized the jacket. They were watching something on his phone, not talking. He didn't look like a villain. He TBH looked like a tired young man watching a screen. I don't think he was a bad person. I think he stopped thinking of the guard as a person, and he did a thing and then a single sentence put the person back. That's the whole story, really. That's almost the whole story. Almost. My sister bought a postcard from the gift shop before we left. Like, not of the palace. One of those honestly generic red phone box ones, the kind you see in approximately every London gift shop ever made. She bought it, look, and she didn't explain why, and I didn't ask because I understood it. Sometimes you need a physical object to carry a moment in, the way you'd put a pressed flower between pages. The postcard was her version of that, and we walked back down the mall in the gray afternoon, leaves on the path. Hey, pigeons doing whatever pigeons do in a city that has entirely stopped caring about pigeons. Neither of us talked for a while. That easy quiet that comes after something that needs a minute to settle. Then she said, "I wonder if he knows." "Knows what?" "That it worked. What he said. I wonder if he knows it actually worked." Because he would have gone back to standing. He would have completed his shift, 2 hours, 3 hours, however long was left, and then marched off and handed over and gone inside. He wouldn't have seen the woman with the good camera reviewing her photos. He wouldn't have heard the man in the tweed jacket say extraordinary. He wouldn't sort of have seen the crowd that didn't leave for 5 minutes after. He said what he said, and then he went back to standing. That's the part that gets me most, I think, and the unself-consciousness of it. He didn't do it for the crowd's reaction. He, I guess, wasn't performing, which he said the truest, plainest thing available to him in that moment, and then he returned to his post. My mother doesn't know I'm here today. I hope yours does. I've been told since that there's an actual policy that the guards are supposed to issue a verbal warning before taking further action, that there are protocols, that Corporal Whitmore was technically following procedure. You know, and maybe that's true, but procedure doesn't write sentences like that, which procedure says step back, sir. Procedure says please do not interfere with the guard. Procedure doesn't say my mother doesn't know I'm here today. That sentence came pretty much from somewhere else. It came from whatever part of a person survives years of training and ceremony and standing still in the cold while strangers point cameras. The part that still knows exactly what it wants to say when someone looks right through it. There's a kind, to be fair, of courage we don't talk about much. Not the charging into fire kind, which not the obvious kind with medals and documented moments. But the courage it takes to stand at a post. Do pretty much the same thing perfectly again and again, knowing most of the people watching you have already decided your decoration. Knowing that your stillness will be misread as permission. Knowing someone is going to test you today and the day after and the day after that, and still standing, still doing it right, not hardening into nothing to survive it. But somehow keeping enough of yourself alive inside the uniform that when the moment asks for a real person, one is there. That's what I saw. 40 people saw a guard get sprayed with water and not flinch. But that's not what stunned them. What stunned them was that when he finally chose to respond, he chose to be a son. We got back to the hotel around 4. The light had gone that particular London way it goes in October. Not dark exactly, just exhausted. Yellow in the windows of the buildings. Someone on the floor below us was playing music, something soft I couldn't identify. I sat on, the bed, and I thought about calling my mom. I know how that sounds. I know it's a bit much. We'd spoken 3 days ago before the flight, the usual pre-trip call. She knew I was in London, knew which hotel, knew my sister was with me. Yeah, she absolutely did know where I was. But I called her anyway. She picked up on the second ring, the way she always does, like she's been half waiting for it. I didn't, have a specific thing to say, just talked. Told her about the Tower of London, told her about the fish and chips, told her about the yellow-jacketed Italian school group and the matching poncho Americans. Didn't tell her, to be fair, about the guard. Didn't know how to explain it in a way that would make sense without all of this. She said, "Are you having a good time, love?" I said yes, and meant it in a way that went past the question. The video did go online, not the puffer jacket guy's video. His never surfaced, or if it did, it didn't go anywhere. Someone else's phone caught most of it. The spray, the stillness, the step forward, and then the moment where the guy's posture changed and you could see, even from a distance, that something had been said. The comments were what you'd expect. People explaining the protocol, people praising the guard, people defending the tourist because apparently that's always an available position. But the ones that stayed with me were the ones that just said simple things. I needed this today. Didn't expect to feel something watching a 45-second clip at 11 p.m. He made him feel ashamed without humiliating him. That's hard to do, that last one. Plus, honestly, I thought about that one. Because there's a way of doing what the guard did, that step forward, the quiet words, that could have been crushing, that could have been designed to embarrass. And it wasn't. It was just real. And the puffer jacket guy didn't leave looking publicly destroyed. He left looking like a man who'd been reminded of something he already knew and had briefly forgotten. That's the harder thing to do, the more controlled thing, the thing that takes more, not less. My sister still has the postcard. She never sent it. It's on her fridge now, held up by a magnet from a different trip entirely, surrounded by takeaway menus and a photo from our parents' anniversary dinner last year. Last time I was at her flat, I noticed it, and didn't say anything, and she didn't either. We didn't need to. Plus, some things you just keep because you were there, because you stood in a gray October square in front of a palace and watched a young man decide in one quiet sentence to be a person. And the crowd, 40 strangers who would never see each other again, who came from different countries, different lives, and hadn't thing in common, but this one morning, all of them felt it land. All of them stayed. I still don't know if Corporal James Whitmore knows what he did that day. I think he just stood there until his shift ended and then he went inside. I think his mother still doesn't know the specifics. But somewhere out there, she raised a man who stands in the cold and does his job, and when the world tries to make him less than human, answers with the most human thing he owns. That's enough. That's more than enough.